In this video, we're going to explore the library icon. Now, the library icon is at the top left. This is where all your books can be found. Now, you can click on the library icon and the browser window will open and you can begin to view all your books. Now, before we get started with this video, a couple quick setting changes. First, at the far right, you're going to see this grid. My screen may look different from your screen, and that is due to this setting. If you click it, you'll see that I have Details View. Go ahead and choose Details View from the menu. Additionally, at the bottom right, there's an icon, a little corner that you can click on, and that allows you to reshape and resize the browser window. You therefore can get more information in the space. For this video, because there's so much interaction, we're going to left click and drag that icon into the layout. Now, when you drag it to the left side, you'll see the gray shaded area will cover half of your screen. If you go all the way to the far right, it'll only shade the right half of the screen. What we want to do is move that icon to the middle so the whole layout is shaded. Now go ahead and release the mouse and you'll see that the library window has filled up all the shaded area. Now there's a lot of information here, so buckle up because we have a lot to cover. So first, let's go over to the far left and you'll see the hamburger menu, that is the three horizontal lines. And if we click on that, it gives us access to a filter. Now it may take a few moments for this to load because there's a lot of information going on. Now the purpose of the filter window is to help you find resources more easily. Logos has done a lot of work behind the scenes to organize the books in a variety of categories. And as you can see here, we have several categories that we can click on. We can filter by the type of book. For example, if we click the triangle and expand it, we can see that Logos has organized books into monographs, Bible commentaries, journals, sermons, magazines, and a whole bunch more. Let's click on the triangle to collapse that menu. This is something new in Logos 9, and that's the fact book. Now, this is pretty amazing, and it's also a lot of information. Now, we have the first few categories listed here. So under the section Bible, let's click it. And what we can do is we can look for books that are related to the Epistle to the Romans or the Book of Psalms. I'm going to go ahead and click Book of Psalms. In a few moments, Logos will reorganize the library and make a list of all the books of Psalms in my library. Notice this includes a variety of types, commentaries, devotionals, etc. Now, when you click on these filters, you'll see a new section appear right here. It says All, and then shows you the filter you clicked on, Bible Book of Psalms, and then how many results. When you want to reset this, just simply click on All. Now, if you click on the X, that will remove that particular filter. If you click on All, it will remove all the filters you selected. And you can select more than one filter. So, for example, if we click on Book of Psalms, and then go and click and expand Type, and if we look at the type sections, we can see the counts. If we wanted to just look at commentaries, there'd be 193 resources. If we want to look at monographs, 24, or courseware, or Bible studies. So those little numbers are very helpful to let you know what you can expect when you click on that filter. I'm going to choose Bible commentary. Now at the right, we have all the commentaries related to the book of Psalms. And again, as I said earlier, if you click the X, you can remove one particular filter and the rest will remain. If you click All, it removes all the filters. Let's click and collapse Type and Fact Book. Let's click and expand Subject. Now this is a very powerful feature. Let's say you're studying a particular subject. And let's say you want to study theology. You can click on theology and Logos will generate a list, any book that discusses the subject of theology. Now, this is a really important concept because if you look at the types, we're getting quotations, journals, systematic theologies, etc. This is a large collection of resources. So subject can really apply to a lot of different resources. And I like this particular one when I'm trying to find books related to a subject matter. This is especially important where the subject does not appear in the title, but the content of the book will reference the subject. Sometimes it may be the whole book, sometimes it may just be a portion of the book. Let's go ahead and click on All, and let's click on the triangle to collapse Subject. The next one is Tags. Now, there's two sections in the tags. There's My Tags, and these are tags that you create yourself, and we'll cover this in a future training video. And then there's Community Tags. Those are the tags that other Logos users have used, and Logos is sharing those with you. This can be quite powerful in finding additional resources. For example, someone's gone through and tagged everything theological, so we could click on theology, and we can find all the books in your library related to the tag theology. Let's go ahead and click on all to remove that filter. And then let's click on tags to collapse that menu option. Then there's ratings. Personally, I have not found this to be very helpful, but you can see your ratings and community ratings. And as you can see by the bulk of where these are, we have mostly not rated by you because I don't use this feature. But look at the community ratings. As expected, most people are selecting 3 stars. Now, picking out a 5-star could be handy when you're trying to reduce the number of books. But since not every user is contributing, this tends to be people who are big fans of particular books. It can be useful at times. Let's click and collapse the rating section. Language lets you know what the language was used in writing the book. All right, so this is really important. If we click on Greek, we're not going to get books that are English-based with references to Greek. We're going to get a book that's written in Greek. And as you can see from the search results, we're getting manuscripts, etc. from these choices. Let's go ahead and click All. And let's collapse the language section. Author lets you select books by author. And that's pretty straightforward. Collections is wonderful, especially if you have created a collection. Let's click More and expand this menu option. As we scroll down, we can pick from our collection. So if I wanted to look at, for example, all my research commentaries, I could click that filter, and now I've got a list of those. Let's go ahead and click All to clear out that filter, and let's click on Collections to collapse it. Then there's Series, and this is really important. For example, a commentary may be part of a larger set. This allows you to access those series. So, for example, we have Bibliotheca Sacra, which is a journal series. And if I wanted to see all of them, I simply click on that link, and now I've gathered that whole series with that simple search. Very easy to use. Go ahead and click on All, and then click on Series to collapse. If you're interested in finding all the books by a particular publisher, you can do that as well. Let's go ahead and click on Publisher to collapse. Let's click on License and expand. There's 2 types of licenses, permanent and temporary. Temporary are books that Logos is letting you use temporarily. Permanent are the books that you own. Let's go ahead and click on the triangle next to License to collapse. Now, in addition, it may surprise you that there are different electronic books in your Logos system. You have Logos research books. These are the ones that Logos produce. They have the most features. Then you have generic ebooks. These books are by various publishers, and they are not as robust as far as Logos features goes. If you've created a personal book, you'll see that under User Created. And then Logos Reader. Let's click on that to see what those are. The Logos Reader editions are essentially Logos created books, but they're really designed for reading from cover to cover rather than using them as research tools. So they're not going to have as many tags. Typically, you're going to see Bible verses tagged and a few other links, but that's about it. Let's go ahead and click on All to remove that filter. Let's click and expand Reading Status. Now, it's important to understand the purpose of these statistics. When you buy Logos books, you're putting them in a library for searching. Some books you will read, and that's why that number reading is a little bit smaller. And finished, reading a whole book electronically is even going to be smaller. But don't fear if you see unread, because there's a lot of books that you're adding to your library that potentially you're going to search and use. However, it's a good reminder to be careful that before you buy a book, ask the question, do you have an immediate need, or do you see this as an important book to have in your library so that you can search it in the future? Let's click and close the reading status. Let's click Devices. This is a pretty wonderful little section, and if you have multiple devices that use Logos, PC, Mac, or a mobile device, this can help you keep track of where the books are associated. My laptop is my primary use for my library, so that's why we see the major number there. But I only have a few books on my phones or my other devices, so that's why the numbers are a little bit smaller. It's a really good idea to try to keep this list cleaned up because a lot of times you switch devices, you'll have to let Logos know that that device no longer exists. So if we were to click on, let's say, John's iPhone, we can go to the Bible commentary. And what we can do is we can open the book by clicking on the title, then go to the top right and click on the stoplight icon, the 3 vertical dots, then go to Information, and then scroll down and look for devices. And there it is, John's iPhone. Since I don't have that particular phone anymore, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it. Then click Done. You can close the resource. And if we actually click All and scroll down to Devices, it'll take Logos a few moments to refresh this window, and John's iPhone will be gone. So that's just a good way to keep this particular data set clean and accurate. Let's go ahead and click on Devices. Now let's go to the next section, Last Updated. Now these are books that you already have in your library, but Logos has made some changes to them. Typically typo errors, things like that have been corrected. So this can help you see what books have been recently refreshed and updated. So let's click on Last Updated to close that section. Let's click on Added. Now here we can see books that have been newly added to your library. You didn't have these before. And again, it keeps track on the interval of 7, 14, and 30 days. So this is a wonderful way to keep an eye on what books have you recently added to your library. Now there is a search icon associated with the filter. Let's go ahead and click that search icon. Now I'm going to type in theology. You'll notice right away that the filter list has been reduced. So these sections have theology in their category. So if we click and expand type, we see that there's 2 types of theology books, systematic and biblical. If we go to fact book and expand that, we can see belief system, and we have other, and we can see how theology is used. So this is helping you find particular filters that may make it easier for you to find particular books and resources. When you're done using the search, go ahead and click on the X, and that will allow you to see all the filters once again. Once you're done with the filters, go ahead and click on the hamburger menu, and that'll give you back more space to view your library. Now, filters is one way to find resources. The more manual method is using the search box. I personally prefer the search box. It's quicker and it's faster. But if you're new to Logos, that filter window is very handy. Now, we can do the same kind of searches. For example, we saw the category type. So we could type in TYPE : and then type in theology, and we can get a list of all our theological resources, both systematic as well as other ones. So we can see systematic theology as well as biblical theology. So whether you go through the filter or you type it in directly, it's really 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whatever is most convenient and efficient for you. Notice it's type : theology, no spaces in there. You can also type combinations of words. For example, we could type in the last name and author, MacArthur, and type in maybe a commentary book, for example, Romans. That combination will immediately help us find all the books that have MacArthur as an author name and Romans as a title name. Now notice I didn't type in author or title. Logos is smart enough to figure out if those items are included in any of the categories. If we wanted to be very specific, then we'd have to type in author : MacArthur and title : Romans. And now our list is further reduced. So my advice is just put in the topics that you're searching for. If the list is still too long, then specify the specific categories. Now, if you're wondering what are these special tags and how do we know them, they're all listed right here. Type, title. Now, you're probably wondering why this view looks different than yours. So let's take a moment to correct that. Over at the right, you have an icon right here. It looks like a little grid. If you click on that, you have 3 options. Cover view, let me click on that, and that shows you the book cover. This is great when you're trying to identify a book by what it looks like. Let's click that same icon again and choose title view. Now we're seeing a little more information, the title, the author, the rating, and the book cover. The third view, which is the view I was in just a moment ago, is the details view. And this is the recommended view. You get a lot more information with this view. Now, as far as the titles go, it turns out you can customize these. If you right-click on any column title, for example, here I'm right-clicking on type, we can see the other title options. There's no need to check all of these sections, but there are some important ones. Image is important, type and title and author. You really don't need most used, so we'll uncheck that. Now notice as soon as I checked it or unchecked it, the menu went away. So simply right-click on the column title again, and you can see the menu. Subjects is important. Use my tags if you have your own tags, but I'm going to uncheck it for this video. Once again, right-click on the column title. Languages, really not necessary. Let's right-click again. Publication date might be important. Publisher series. You really don't need license, so we'll go ahead and check that. Right-click on type. Edition, really not important. Right-click on that, and then we have last access and community tags. Let's uncheck each one of those. By reducing the amount of information, it's a little bit easier now to scroll through and make sure you have everything you need. Now let's talk about how to find books in your library. As we mentioned before, you simply type in the name of the author. Now, what you may not realize is that Logos is sorting books in a particular way. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and type in Bible space letter K for Bible knowledge. Now, if you look at the title column, look at the first books listed. We see 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings. In other words, Logos is sorting the titles based on the title name. How do we know that? Look at this little triangle right here. That's informing us that the search results are coming back alphabetical order. If we were looking for Bible K, we'd have to scroll down and find the letter B and then look for Bible knowledge. That can take a lot of time. So to help you avoid this situation for searching through a list when you don't know all the details of the book, Logos has provided this extra column over here, rank. I'm going to go ahead and click rank. Think of this as the closest proximity to what you're searching for. And lo and behold, the Bible Knowledge Commentary was listed first. So in review, let's do this again. I'm going to click all to remove my search criteria that's listed right here. Let's type in Mac Rome. Now again, I don't have all the details. I got a lot of search results. Look for that icon, and sure enough, the sorting is by title. I'm going to now click on rank, and look at this. MacArthur Bible Studies Romans was listed first, Romans, the MacArthur New Testament Commentary second, etc. So as a habit, what I do is type in what I'm looking for, and I instinctively click on rank. Usually I'll find my book in those first 5 in the list. So make sure you're aware of this feature. It's so important to understand. Now to clear out your searching, you need to go over to the far right and click the X to remove the content. You could certainly select it and delete it manually. That would work as well. Over at the right, you have 2 options. You have Yours and Store. This is a new feature in Logos 9. Now, Yours has been there for a long time. It's all the books you own. But now, instead of going to the Logos Store website and search for a book, just click on Store and type in what you're looking for. Notice that you cannot change the view. It's grayed out at this point in time when I was making this video. So let's say you're looking for a theology book. Let's put in type :theology. Now Logos is still developing this tool. Notice that it says 39332 results. Logos has more books than this. But let's type in an author or a title. Let's type in a title, theology. Now Logos is bringing back books from the library that are available for us to purchase. And let's put in Protestant. Notice that our results are being reduced. Let's type in End Times. Now we found one book, Finding Our Balance, Repositioning Mainstream Protestantism. Now you may be asking, how is that related to those 3? I'm not quite sure. Having the ability to search the Logos store will save you time from going to their website. Now I still believe going to the website will give you more comprehensive searches, but this is a great way to start. Let's go ahead and delete that content. Now to open a book, all you have to do is click on the title. You notice when you float your mouse over the title, we see the color change from black to blue. And if we click on the title, the book will open up in our resource immediately. To close a book, click on the X, and the book is now closed. Now there's an additional icon. You'll see an eye with a circle around it. This is the information button. Let's go ahead and click it. Now, the way this works is that you have to select a book. Now, when selecting the book, you do not want to click on the title. Otherwise, the book will open. So I recommend just clicking either before the title or after the title in the blank space or on these other categories. And as you can see, we get a little sneak preview and information about this particular book. We get the cover, the title, The little pencil icons lets you know that you can edit the title and even the abbreviation. I don't recommend doing this too often, but it can be handy when you have, for example, multiple editions or you want a shorter title. We have the author, the rating system, and the edition. Notice it says downloaded here. If we click the drop-down menu, we can remove from this device, which we do not want to do. You really want to have all your books on your local computer so that if you lose the internet connection, you still have access to your library. Here's some additional details about the book, and notice we can click more and see that information. In this case, this book has been 100% read, and you'll see some tags. Now, these tags were built in, but you can add additional tags. These are the My tags. So if there's an additional category that you want to use to search on to find this book, you could simply type it in. So for example, I would type in manuscript, and notice that Logos gives some suggestions which you want to choose those. So I'm going to click on manuscript, and the tag has now been added. Notice it'll take Logos a few minutes to update the library before this tag is fully usable. Now, if you scroll down below, you'll notice that there's some additional community tags. Now, if your tag is one of the tags in the community, I definitely recommend removing it. That's being redundant. You don't need both tags. So if it says manuscript, just remember to search on the community tag. We can click on Start Reading Plan to start reading this book right away. You can also share information about this book. You can share it through the Faith Life website, Facebook, Twitter, and even email others to tell them how great this book is. And if you want to learn more about the book, click this link. And this will take you right to the store where you can purchase this book. You can manually click on the URL, right-click and copy, and send that link to someone else. Let's return back to Logos. If you want to cite this book for bibliographic reasons, you simply can click copy, and that'll copy in the format that you've selected. We'll show you later how to make changes to that citation style. The copyright information is included, as well as the devices. You can manage your mobile devices. This is a real handy link, so let's click on it. Right away, we can get a list of all our devices. So if some of these devices are no longer in operation, I do recommend removing them. To remove a device, simply click Remove. Let's go back to Logos and scroll down. Now, if the book is part of a series, you'll see that series information. Notice you can click the pencil icon and rename that series. Be careful if you do so. You want to keep the series names the same for every book in that series. Now, if this book is part of a collection, Logos will generate a list where those collections are listed. I've had Logos for many, many years, and I think this is a neat feature, but I've never really had to make any changes. We've discussed indexes when we were overviewing a book. The index is that white section at the top left of a book. In a Bible, it's a Bible index where we type in the Bible verse. Or if it has a page number, we'll see page. This is pretty typical. In the case of a manuscript, we have two pieces of information, the scripture and the page number. So indexes will change from book to book. Search fields are the additional fields that you can search that's associated with this book. So if I want to search the Bible text, the footnotes, the large text, and the surface text, I can do that within this book. These can change from book to book, and you should always be aware of what they are in case you want to do some specialized searching, and we'll cover that in a future video. After search fields is support info. This is really for Logos, but there is one piece of information here that can come in handy. You'll see that the last row of information describes the book. The first half, that is the information that comes before the .logos4, that's the book abbreviation. So if we were to go up into the command box and paste or type that information in there, Logos can find the book for us. So knowing the book abbreviation can come in handy, especially if it's a frequently used book. Now, if the book abbreviation is long and complicated, like it is in this situation, then my advice is scroll to the top, locate the title. Just to the right of the little pipe, you're going to see a small book abbreviation. You can type in that in the Find Resource box, and that will open up the resource. If you don't like that short book abbreviation, you can click the pencil icon and you can change it to anything you want. So there is a lot of flexibility to help you find more frequently used books. Let's click off that and not make any changes. And let's click the X to remove the content of our Find Resource box. There's a couple other features you should be aware of with the library browser. You can left-click, hold your mouse button down, and drag the book to a specific place in your layout. Here I'm dragging it to the right. You can see the shaded area, and when I release my mouse, the book will fill up that space. So that gives you a little more control on where the book will open. Let's go ahead and click on the X to close this resource. Let's go ahead and left-click on the border here at the right and drag that all the way to the right. Now, when it comes to sorting the columns, as we alluded to earlier, all we have to do is click on the column. So if we click on Type, notice how the information changes. We now see all the various types of books. If we click on Author, now we can sort our books by an author. So if I wanted to see every book by a particular author, let's say Edwin Abbott, I can click and expand, and now I can see all the books by him. Now this is really unnecessary because if we simply typed in author, Abbott, and author, Edwin, including the 2 unique pieces of information, we can now search and find all those books. But nevertheless, that can be very handy. If you click the column again, it will resort it the other direction. So clicking it once will sort it A to Z, and you click it again, it'll sort it in reverse order, Z to A. So be aware of that. Let's click on Title, as this is my preferred way to view the books in my library. Let's click on All so we can see all the books in my library. Let's click on the I to remove this window pane. The last feature in the library browser is the 3 vertical dots, the stoplight menu. Let's go ahead and click that. You'll see that we have a few additional options. First, we can change the size of the fonts to view the library larger or smaller in font size. So that can be very handy. We have an undo feature, which will undo any changes you've recently made. We have the redo option. We do have access to the information window through this menu. So if we click information, that's the same feature as if we clicked on the I in the circle. I'm going to click and undo that, and then I'm going to click the 3 vertical dots. We can also prioritize resources. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. We can print and export the library. Let's do that. Now notice that nothing shows up, but over at the right we have an option, save as a file, send to new document, and paste into a document. I recommend choosing save as file. Let's go ahead and click on spreadsheet. Now Logos is going to open up a window and you're going to see .xml. I'm going to save this to my desktop and I'm going to click save. Now while it's getting ready to create the document, this may take a few minutes depending on the size of your library. You can see the flashing dots to let you know that it's taking Logos a few minutes to process this report. Once those dots go away, it's completed. Now let's close this window and let's go to that file. Now there's 2 ways to open this file. We could double click on the file, but that may or may not work depending on the file extension. So my advice is to go ahead and open Excel. Once Excel is open, choose File, then click Browse and navigate to that file on your desktop. So let's go ahead and click Desktop. There's library.xml and click Open. Notice that Logos has created a spreadsheet of all my library information. If you click the first cell and then press the End button on your keyboard and then hit the down arrow button, Excel will put you at the last row of information and you can confirm that that number, in this case 57163, matches the number in your Logos library. Now mine says 57162. The difference of the 1 is due to the row heading. So we now confirm that we have exported all the information about our library. Let's go ahead and close Excel by clicking on the X at the top right. Let's return to Logos and let's go back to our menu by clicking on the Stoplight menu. Show Reading View allows us to read this as a maximized window. Really, there's no reason to do that. We could duplicate this panel, we can float this panel, and we can create a link to it as we've discussed earlier. You recognize these other menus: help about this feature, discuss this feature, show the help card, and close. These are all familiar menu choices that we've discussed earlier. Before we click close, the next video will discuss prioritize resources. Let's go ahead and click on close. That will close the library browser window. When we started this video, we dragged and dropped the library icon into our layout. And we did this because we were interacting with the library browser quite a bit. If you're not going to be interacting quite a bit, then all you need to do is click on the browser icon, go into the search box to find the resource that you're looking for. Once the resource opens up, the library browser window closes. Let's go ahead and click on the X to close this window.